the authority, this is the wrong priority. Due to Prahlad's spoiling, Hiranya's blood was boiling. Because of this disclosure, the affection was over. This was most intolerable. Punishment was inevitable. The torture had commenced, in no version condensed. Astonishingly, results were nil. Hiranya just could not kill. Remembering what the sage said, the boy, unharmed, could not be dead. He came out unscathed. The father was simply amazed. How is this possible? By the power unstoppable, present just everywhere, on land, in water, in the air. Tension built up like a thriller. Hiranya pointed to a pillar. Is this power there? Absenteeism, I declare. He struck that pillar like a vicious killer. The pillar shook, was alive. It shattered, and out did arrive a lion man massive, while Prahlad remained passive. With size and sound alone, Hiranya's reality was blown. The lion man hoisted into his lap, now caught in a trap. Hiranya was indeed a mouse in his very own house. At the portal he did lie. Time to say goodbye. His body had diminished. Hiranya's mission finished. Prahlad did love his dad. He wished him nothing bad. He also adored the big cat, who gave the boy a pat. He was indeed ferocious, but not at all atrocious. Hare Krishna. And during the pandemic, I started to write some poems, and this is one of them. Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening. So now we're going to the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. And here's the Sanskrit. We always like to have some Sanskrit in the classes, right? Daitiya Chandanavani Chadoyang Kantaka Drumaha Yan Bulon Mula Parashora Vishnur Nalayator Bhakaha. Translation. This rascal Prahlad has appeared like a thorn tree in a forest of sandalwood. To cut down sandalwood trees, an axe is needed. And the wood of the thorn tree is very suitable for the handle of such an axe. Lord Vishnu is the axe for cutting down the sandalwood forest of the family of demons. And this Prahlad is the handle for that axe. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thorn trees generally grow in deserted places, not in sandalwood forests. But the seminal Brahmins, Shanda and Amarka, compare the dynasty of the Daitya, Hiranyakashipu, to a sandalwood forest, and compared Prahlad Maharaj to a hard, strong thorn tree that could provide the handle of an axe. They compared Lord Vishnu to the axe itself. An axe alone cannot cut a thorn tree. It needs a handle, which may be made of the wood of a thorn tree. Thus, the thorn tree of demoniac civilization can be cut to pieces by the axe of Vishnu Bhakti, the devotional service to Lord Krishna. Some of the members of the demoniac civilization, like Prahlad Maharaj, may become the handle for the axe to assist Lord Vishnu, and thus the entire forest of demoniac civilization can be cut to pieces. Thank you very much for helping out. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Shaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Kacharini Nirvishesh Shivani Pastajiti Shitarini. Hare Krishna. So today we're honoring the half-man, half-lion avatar, Lord Nrsimha Dev. And so we're talking about a manifestation of Vishnu. And when we ever talk about Vishnu or God, the creator, you cannot leave out his devotee, his bhakta, his assistant. And so to assist the Lord in this pastime came Prahlad Maharaj, who's identified here by the demons as a demon. If you're materially motivated, you're always going to see black and white. You're going to see enemy, friend, friend, enemy. I remember one time I was chanting japa. This was in Vancouver, and it was early in the morning. And I was walking on a trail, and the trail met another trail, and there was hardly anybody there because it was early in the morning, right? So I was just chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. And my trail met with another trail, and there was a fellow on it, and he was just a little ahead of me. So we merged, and I was behind him, and I guess he kind of caught a glimpse of me, and I looked different than him. Hare Krishna, it's obvious, right? And I was going Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, which normal Canadians or Americans don't do, right? And he stopped for a minute. He said, "Foe or friend?" And I said, "Friend." "Oh, thanks." And he kept walking. All right. So that is the way we do analyze people a lot. We wonder, we calculate, like, are you with me or are you not with me, right? And so this is common. We get very judgmental. And there's a problem with being judgmental. There's a word called mental. And maybe it's not a good, stream. It's not a good way to go, right? To be mental, to be on the platform of the mind, but rather it would be a good idea to be more in sync with the buddhi, with the intelligence. What do you think? Yeah, all right. But when we're materially motivated and when we're influenced by the three modes of material nature, naturally you're going to be thinking in terms of, is it good for me, for my sense gratification, or is it not good for my sense gratification? Is this thing that's before me an imposition? Is it going to disturb my pleasures, or is it going to enhance? That's the way we think when we are materialistic. And Prabhupada uses strong words sometimes, demoniac civilization. I think it's pretty clear in the dynasty of Hiranyakashipu. The only problem is you have to, turn the table and say, well, you guys are the demons. Prahlad was not. Prahlad, because we're talking about the devotee of Vishnu or Nrsimha, he had not a mean bone in his body. He didn't calculate like that. He didn't think good, bad. His mood, his spirit was, everything's okay. Like a Jamaican person, everything's good, man. So that is, he was coming from a transcendental position because he was associated with a very great soul, one of the greatest personalities ever to have set foot on planet Earth and many other planets, Narada Muni. Prahlad had learned how to be seeing the world with equanimity, not to be so calculating good and bad. And that's what we learn from. In the chapter of the Bhagavad Gita 14, three modes of material nature. We learn how these three gunas, or three energies, tend to, let's say, get the better of us. They take the energy out of us. We invest so much in them, the three modes of material nature. A little bit of this and a little bit of the three gunas, goodness, passion, and ignorance. You know, we spend a lot of time probably in tamagun, ignorance. A certain good amount of time in the rajagun, passion. Maybe a little bit of time in sattvagun. Sattvagun mode of goodness, it means to be thoughtful. And you think about what you're going to say and what you're going to do before you enact it. You're thoughtful. You take your time. You sleep on subject matter. You don't just become so impulsive like in Rajagun. It's the stage of restlessness. And you move very fast. People who are in Rajagun, they move real fast. Above the speed, they're the ones that get all the tickets for speeding. And you wonder, you know, have you ever been on a road like sort of like I know in America you've got that back roads, then you got the sort of middle-sized roads, and then you got the freeways, right? Three different levels, right? But have you ever noticed how it doesn't matter which type of road it is, some people, they move really fast, especially in the areas in the city, they move, and they pass everybody, and then the stoplight comes, the red lights, and you're right back where in the same level with everybody else. Everyone caught up to you. So what good was it? And if you go really high speed, you're very prone to get into a collision. Have you ever noticed that people who walk, they never have problems with head-on collisions? Pedestrians, head-on collisions. It's almost unheard of. When it comes to traffic, because we're going faster than we need to. Yes, tragedy, right? So in the Rajagun, it's the mode of restlessness. You move very fast, and there's not much thought. Because I know, like, as a teenager, you know, you move really fast. Any teenagers here? How many people were at one time? Teenager, other word for terrorist. Okay. And so what happens is that you move so fast, and you ask them, did you smell the rose bush over back there? What, where? They didn't take the time, they don't notice those things, because they're high speed, high energy, right? Hopefully they'll get a little more connected to the sattvagun. And then there's the mode of ignorance, you don't have an opinion. You're just like slothful. How many people like sloths? I do. They're really cool. They get a big smile and they move kind of slow, but they don't harm anybody. They'll move like this. And hang on. So, but the three gunas, the three modes of material nature, are what Prahlad Maharaj is not affiliated with. He's not in sync with them. He has divorced himself, if he was even connected with them. He's just not involved. He's a transcendentalist. And it's the other people who are the demonic individuals. But for anybody who comes along and they're a little bit on the holy side, and especially if you're very much a materialist, it really does rock your boat a little bit. That's the attitude. I remember in the early days, we all had shaven heads. The only person who looked cool with a shaven head was Mr. Clean. And he had a tight t-shirt on, it was white, he looked clean, and he had an earring way ahead of his time. We're talking about the 50s and 60s, and he had a shaven head. He was the only cool-looking shaven head person. But in the days when we joined the movement in the 60s and 70s and 80s, everyone sported hair. Hair here, hair here, hair everywhere. Here, Hare Krishna. And you were an oddball if you had a shaven head. That's true. Then it became fashion. because that's the way of the world, you know. Trends change every 2 years. Okay, so it would be sometimes like, I remember going on the street in the early days, and because we had a shaven head, it was like death personified for people. You know, my hair is my everything. I'm Samson, in the story of Samson and Delilah. My strength lies in my hair. And you don't have hair. Oh my God, you know. You mean you stand for everything what I don't believe in. So it's shocking sometimes to people who actually meet with devotees. And when we tell them, you're not that body, what? What? You know, aham brahmasmi, even some of the language is, what? What is that? Of course, it's not part of the pop culture. It's just not part of pop culture at all. So it's not what sells. So therefore people get a little bit, you know, let's say annoyed, uneasy when they meet with a saintly person. But it's okay to be shaken up a little bit. That's necessary. On that walk that I did across America, like I crossed 14 states, and my favorite one was Utah. And just people were so nice, and maybe because there's less people. The Mormons were always nice to us. Even I was walking through, it was Spanish Forks, yeah. And just devotees had established themselves somewhere. I was just walking on a street in the suburbs, and somebody pulled over and said, no, actually it was downtown. Would you like a ride? I said, what? I've reached the destination. It's a town. I'm in town. Where would you want to take me? Like if you're way in the middle, like in the boonies and the sticks, they'll pull over. Would you like a ride? I see her. We're in the middle of nowhere. And of course, my answer was, I'm walking across the country, so I can't take any rides. They asked, what for? Well, it's to promote the walking culture, spiritual awareness, you know, getting back to basics, all those good things. Oh, yeah, that's right. All right. All right. So I went to this one town in Utah. I can't remember the name of it exactly. But from the walk, we had a lot of interviews, you know, on the radio especially, and newspapers. Those are almost dead now. But the people listened to the radio. And so we got into one radio station, and they were playing country western music, right? And they asked a lot of questions. That was a woman she was the anchor person. And I said, well, country western, okay, great. Can I put in a request? And they said, yeah, sure. Oh, Johnny Cash, Walk the Line. Okay, because it was, exactly what I was doing. So they played it, and before the song and after the song, beautiful questions came out from them, and nice answers. The next day, I went to another radio station that was in the same town. And Jennifer was the name of she was the anchor person, the broadcast person. And so we were talking, and I showed her a copy of the Bhagavad Gita. And she said, oh, I have that book. I have it. I said, have you read it? I said, no, but now I will. So I asked Jennifer, yesterday I was with the one radio station, and they were playing country western. What kind of music do you play here? I said, oh, we play pop music. Pop. I said, pop. Pop sounds familiar. Pop in Sanskrit, the language that we use, it means sin. And then she said, okay, Swami, get on the headphones. We're on the air now. Okay. So we have somebody here very special. He's known as the Walking Monk, and his name is, let's see if I can say it properly. Bhakti Marg Swami. He said, perfect, Jennifer, that was wonderful. And it's in the Sanskrit language, you said, Swami? Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we had a nice discussion before we just got on the air here. And our discussion was, what genre of music are we playing here? And the Swami here said that pop, I told him it's pop music. And the Swami said, pop in Sanskrit, is that the word? Sanskrit. It means sin. So that's why we have the Swami here, to deal with our sins. So I guess, when you have, there's standards for everything. If you want to know what is sin as opposed to virtue, then you can, I think a lot of people in a common sense way understand. When you don't hurt someone, when you assist someone who's in need of help, those are kind of virtuous things. But when it comes to sin, our understanding is that if you drag people in or draw them into self-centeredness, that's sin. By the way, the word sin, Prabhupada had a discussion with the devotees. One devotee suggested sin comes from Old German, an Old German word, upsunder, because a lot of English words come from Old German, and some of them have roots from the Sanskrit. So upsunder means to break away. So if you think about it like that, when you do sinful things, it means you're making a distance from God. You're performing what was that during COVID? What was that motto? That social distancing. People have been doing social distancing from God for a long time. COVID didn't have to. Keeping your distance or divorcing yourself from God, from Krishna. So Prahlad, he was pure from birth, and a lot of it had to do with the, let's say, the insertion given by his Guru Maharaj, Narada Muni. So that is how Prahlad came to be where he was, even though he was born in the Daitya dynasty, which is not the most holy family in the world, right? But we can appreciate that even if someone comes from a dark background, it is possible to turn things around and become holy, to become bright and light, and to glow and to grow. And so that's what Bhakti is all about. That's what Prahlad Maharaj taught his friends at tiffin hour, lunchtime, chant Hare Krishna, and everything will be fine. And the boys were arguing. There's always resistance to when someone suggests change, and he was suggesting, let's change here. Let's not get too frivolous. Let's not be too mundane. Let's do some spiritual things. And his friends were saying, oh, Prahlad, that's really for old people. Come on. Komaram achirit pragyo dharman bhagavataniha. No, spiritual life, what I'm telling you, is for everybody, and we should start it in our younger years. Otherwise, it's hard to get on track later on. Do it now, before it's too late. Yes. So that's what Prahlad Maharaj was teaching. That's always a sign of spiritual growth, or somebody who's spiritually evolved. Someone who likes to teach the great message, the great word of surrender to Krishna, letting go, letting God. So that is the message. That is Bhakti. And that's where we want to go. And on a special day like this, where Nrsimha appears in a pillar, we don't have any pillars here, except maybe that one over there to remind us where those two ladies are. Watch out! It's a pillar. And so you never know where God is going to appear in your life. He can come out of a column or a pillar, or he can come in the form of an animal. I was looking from above. I'm in what they call the Swami room upstairs. I looked down. I saw, that's a fat cat. I looked down, and your real estate friend here was Venu Gopal. And they say, oh, that's a woodchuck. And he's very cute, he said. Oh, yeah, you're right. He is. So the idea is to try to see the good in all this there. What was the woodchuck doing? He wasn't eating your wood. Don't worry about it. He was eating some of the wild vegetation that's growing up here. So, just in closing, I would just say that those devotees who like to teach Krishna consciousness and not preach, it's a dirty word in my. Preach means I know everything. You shut your mouth. and you know nothing. I'm telling you everything. So preach, it's a very condescending term. Better to say share or teach, okay? So it was Prahlad who was teaching this message about trying to see Krishna in everything. Trying to see in there. And that's what we learn from verse 435 of Bhagavad Gita. Does anybody know 434? Let's start with that. You approach a teacher, right? And then you learn everything because of Tattva-darshina, having been an experienced and seasoned person in the world. And so the next one, what do you get? What are we supposed to learn from Krishna's message? And again, what does the Guru teach anyways? Answer, verse 35, follows right after that. Yajgyatva na punarmoham. What we learn is that God is present everywhere. And that means everything belongs to Him. If we can just develop that kind of spirit, that kind of mentality, then we're on the right track. We're on the Bhakti track. And that's all that it takes. It's just to narrow it down in a nutshell, that's all it means, to see the presence of Krishna in everything. And even if sometimes we meet a bad person, somebody's not nice to us, we can just say, thank you very much. I'm seeing the Krishna in you. You're helping me with my humility. Much obliged. Like that. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much for listening. As I mentioned earlier on, we have to get on with our little practice because we have a lot